In 2014, I went on a rampage of watching at least a Shaw Brothers movie every single day, sometimes more. And I didn't know a whole lot about Chinese folk legends or the history of Kung Fu, so it was surprising for me that an alarming number of films ended with a hero getting a spear up his bottom. Actually, I finally realized it was always the same hero, which led me to reading up about Fong Sai Yuk, a hero who had actually been a fan of for several years and hadn't connected the dots. Martial arts fans, give me a little room here to give you backstory, which is bedrock knowledge to many of you, but my videos are aimed at fellow newbies and Waigwo-ren like myself. So, dear non-experts like me, Shaolin Temple is one of the cradles of Kung Fu. It's become legendary for its rigorous training, and it shows up as one of the most important martial arts centers in wuxia novels and kung fu movies, easily recognizable by the monks' shaved and scarred heads, yellow robes, and brick-patterned sashes. Unlike the Taoist Wudang sect, Buddhist Shaolin is famous for fighting without weapons, which was necessary because of restrictions from minority overlords, the Mongols, the Jurgens, and the Manchurians. Shaolin was betrayed by an evil monk named Pai Mei, White Eyebrows, who helped the Qing government burn the temple to the ground. This was the cruel mentor in Kill Bill, if you haven't seen his other many appearances in earlier films. A handful of trainees, called the Five Elders of Shaolin, escaped the massacre and went south to found, southern Shaolin in Guangdong. One of the five elders had a daughter, Miao Cui Hua, who married a wealthy merchant of non-Han ancestry and had kids, one of whom was Fong Sai Yuk. Miao Cui Hua taught her sons martial arts, and this is where the folklore starts to get wacky. Miao wanted one of her sons to be invincible, and it had to be a virgin, so Fong Sai Yuk it was. So she made him soak in a barrel of yaojiu, a liquor similar to, but stronger than sake, full of spices, herbs, and other stuff to make it medicinal. My favorite mom-and-pop restaurant in Guangzhou has a bottle of yaojiu containing a crucified lizard. A buddy insisted that I drink some of it anytime I felt under the weather. It's actually not bad. This yaojiu bath is portrayed vividly in Shaolin Avengers, maybe the definitive, if not the most famous, Fong Sai Yuk film. The treatment, along with his nightly inexplicable beating by his older brother, made Fong's skin impervious to weapons, but not his butt. Probably the most famous story about Fong Sai Yuk is his duel on the pear blossom posts. He's challenged by a local bully to a duel on poles interlaced with sharpened stakes. The oldest accounts say that he was 10 years old when this happened, but the video is about the movies. In at least one film version, Pai Mei sees Fong protecting his vulnerabilities during the duel and uses this against the hero whenever he gets the chance. The pear blossom formation pops up a lot in kung fu films, especially ones tied into the legend of Shaolin. So, on to the movies. Well, a few out of many, many movies. I'm going to stick to 2 starring Alexander Fu Sheng and 2 starring Jet Li. Men from the Monastery, 1974, tells the story of Fong Sai Yuk, Fang Xiaoyu, and Hu Huiqian. While normally I'd say that director Chang Che tells a mean, lean story, Men from the Monastery feels a little overstuffed and confusing. He's expecting his audience to know a lot about the story already. It has a great final fight, though, shot in sepia to cover up how incredibly bloody the conclusion is. Shaolin Avengers, 1976, has almost the same cast and story. Alexander Fu Sheng's Fong Sai Yuk seems to be a little bit less of a dandy than in the previous film, and we get a lot more backstory with his brother and mother, told via flashbacks during the final battle between the 3 sworn brothers and the Qing army. It's a little easier to process because of the movie's relentless structuralism. You know where this is going, you know who these guys are throughout their memories. When Hu Huiqian shows up in Men from the Monastery, it feels like one too many stories were tacked on, but not here. In the West, the 2 most famous Fong Sai Yuk films star Jet Li. They leave out a lot of the weird, almost supernatural stuff and amp up the relationship with his mom. Often called The Legend in English, the movies mix Cantonese folk heroes together with the novels of Jin Yong and display the complex choreography of director Chor Yuen. Jet Li defies gravity in this film. I mean, it's different from the bone-crushing athleticism of a Jackie Chan film of the same era. Each action scene is a complicated set piece. These movies feature the ravishing Josephine Xiao as Miao Cui Hua, who wrestles with sapphic desires and discipline for her boy. The second film addresses polygamy, as Fong struggles to provide emotionally to both of his wives. A lot of this stuff is very unusual, especially for mainstream Hong Kong action films. Why he's beloved. Fong Sai Yuk is a big deal. He exemplifies a lot of Chinese ideals. Kung Fu in Chinese doesn't actually mean martial arts. That would be wuxia, or a more specific term. It means something that requires heavy amounts of effort and practice. It could even be making tea. And under the tutelage of his mother, Fong Sai Yuk reaches the peak powers possible, becoming nearly invincible. He's also insanely filial. He accepts his mother's treatments and his brother's beating without question. It's a little odd that his father gets dropped from most of these movie narratives. I'd guess that's because having the Han superhero fighting minority oppression is confusing if the superhero is half minority, but hey, it ain't my country. The take-home message, I suppose, is that walking into a classic Chinese movie requires a lot more than just expecting to enjoy the athletic antics and the expected stories of loyalty and revenge. You're wading into waters that a lot of other people have swam. Also, Fong Sai Yuk teaches a pretty simple message. Love your mom. She's probably a flaming psychopath, but she set a lot of those fires for you.